I was just a young girl. Until the night my uncle walked into my room and shattered my life. Everyone believed him. When my parents sent me to live with Uncle Chak in Enugu, they said it was for the best. Chak is family, Mama told me, holding my hand tightly. He will take care of you like his own daughter. I believed her. At first, Uncle Chak seemed like the perfect guardian. He bought me new clothes, paid my school fees, and always told me I was special. I didn't know that behind his warm smile was a shadow waiting to swallow me. It started with little things, a hand on my shoulder that stayed too long, late night talks in his sitting room after everyone had gone to bed. He said I was beautiful, that I was more mature than my age. His words felt strange in my ears, but I didn't know how to answer. One night, the generator had gone off, and the house was covered in darkness. His wife had traveled to the village. I was asleep when I heard my door open. My heart jumped, but before I could speak, his voice whispered, "Don't be afraid. I just came to check on you." But his hand said otherwise. I froze. My voice disappeared. The shadows in the room seemed to grow thicker, wrapping around me, choking me. When it was over, I felt like a part of me had been stolen forever. The next morning, I wanted to tell someone, but he smiled at me across the breakfast table and said, "Remember, no one will believe you. I am the one feeding you. My wife loves me. You will only bring shame on yourself." And he was right. I decided I couldn't stay another night under his roof. The air in that house had become poison. Every wall, every corner, every shadow whispered his voice in my ear. I packed my clothes into a small Gonomosgo bag before dawn, my hands shaking so badly that I kept dropping things. I had no money, but I told myself, if I can just get to the park, I'll find a way home to Mama. But when I stepped out into the compound, the gate was locked. Not with the normal padlock but with the heavy iron chain he only used when he didn't want anyone going in or out. My heart pounded. How did he know? That morning, he acted as though nothing had happened. He hummed as he stirred his tea, even asked me if I wanted bread. His eyes held that same mocking smile. "Where are you going so early, my dear?" He asked softly, like a lion talking to a goat before eating it. I said nothing. Days turned into weeks. I avoided him as best I could, but in that house, avoiding him was like trying not to breathe the air. Every time I thought I had a chance to run, maybe when his wife came back, or when he traveled, something always happened. The wife suddenly fell sick and couldn't travel again. The trip he planned was cancelled last minute. I started having dreams. In them, I was running down a long red road, my bag in my hand, but the road kept stretching, the houses moving farther away the more I ran. Sometimes, in the dream, I could hear footsteps chasing me, and when I looked back, it was him, smiling. One night, I woke up sweating, only to hear his footsteps outside my door again. My breath caught in my throat. I pressed my body against the wall, willing myself to be invisible. The door handle turned slowly, but then stopped. He didn't come in. That was almost worse. Because it meant he could. Anytime he wanted, I began to feel like the house itself was holding me hostage, like the walls were siding with him, and in a way, they were. Because every time I tried to escape, something or someone pulled me back. Till one day, Auntie Ifioma came back from the village on a Tuesday afternoon. I was sweeping the corridor when I heard the sound of her slippers slapping the ground, her gold bangles clinking with each step. For the first time in weeks, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe now, with her back, I'd be safe. She greeted me with a smile, warm and motherly, so different from the silence I'd been living in. She even hugged me. I almost cried into her shoulder, but as the day went on, I noticed something strange. Whenever Uncle Chak wasn't around, she would look at me a certain way. Not hateful, not warm, just searching. Like she was trying to read something on my face. That night, after dinner, she called me into the kitchen. The light was dim, and the smell of fried plantains still hung in the air. "Sit," she said quietly. I sat. My heart was racing. She didn't speak at first, just looked at me. Then she asked, "Has my husband ever done anything to you?" The question hit me like cold water. My lips trembled. My voice was ready to break. This was my chance. I could finally tell her, "Yes, Auntie," I began, but I didn't even finish before a loud sound came from the doorway. Uncle Chike was standing there, leaning against the wall, smiling that slow, dangerous smile. "Ifioma," he said calmly, "I think our little girl here has been watching too many films. She has a wild imagination." The air in the kitchen changed instantly. Auntie's face hardened like stone. Her eyes, those eyes that had looked almost soft a moment ago, turned cold. She pushed her chair back and stood up. "So it's true," she said bitterly, "you've been trying to destroy my marriage." "No, Auntie, please. Enough," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut through bone. "I feed you. I clothe you. And this is how you repay me? By bringing shame into my home." Tears ran down my face, hot and useless. I wanted to scream, to grab her hands and make her understand, but she turned away from me like I was dirt. From that night, everything changed. The smile she gave me when she returned from the village vanished forever. She stopped speaking to me unless it was to back orders. She began locking her room door at night, as if I was the danger in the house. And worst of all, she and Uncle became even closer. They would laugh together in the living room while I hid in my small room, my hands over my ears, trying not to hear. Sometimes, I thought I heard them whispering about me. Sometimes, I was sure I heard my name followed by muffled laughter. I realized then I was truly alone. Not even another woman's heart could save me, and in the darkness of my room, I wondered if that was his plan all along. I had given up on anyone believing me. The house had turned into a prison. The whispers, the cold looks, the quiet mocking smiles, they were my daily food. But one night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I decided something. If no one would believe my words, they would have to believe proof. From that day, I began to watch Uncle Chike differently. I memorized his patterns: when he left, when he returned, when he drank enough palm wine to loosen his guard. I started keeping a small notebook under my pillow, writing down every little thing he did. One evening, he called me to his room under the pretense of helping him carry something. Instead of obeying, I slipped my small old Nokia phone into my wrapper pocket. I had discovered it still worked for recording, even though the keypad was broken. That night, my hands trembled so badly I thought the phone would fall. But I pressed record before stepping into his room. And it happened. His words, his threats, his disgusting laugh. Every syllable fell into my phone like stones into water. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I knew what to do. There was only one person I trusted, a school teacher named Madam Grace. She was strict, but I had once seen her stand up to a rich man who tried to harass a female student. She was the only adult who had ever looked me in the eyes with kindness. I told her I needed to see her alone after school. At first, she didn't believe me. Why would she? But when I played the recording, her face changed. Her lips pressed into a thin line, and she said, "Pack your things now." That night, I didn't go back to Uncle Chike's house. The next days were a storm. Madam Grace called the women's rights group in town, and they called the police. The recording spread like wildfire among the leaders in the community. For the first time, it was not my word against his. It was his own voice. Damning him. When they came for him, he didn't smile. The whole street watched as he was taken away in handcuffs, shouting that I had ruined him. His wife, Auntie Ifioma, looked at me with eyes that were no longer cold, but broken. She didn't speak. I didn't need her to. A week later, I was sitting in Madam Grace's living room, wearing a fresh dress, sipping tea. The air felt different. Lighter. Like I could breathe again. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without fear. The dream stopped, and as I watched the evening sun pour golden light through the curtains, I realized something. I was not the same girl who had arrived in Enugu scared and naive. I had been broken, yes, but I had also survived. And survival had made me stronger. This was not the end of my story, it was only the beginning. The first time I walked back into school after Uncle Chike's arrest, the air felt heavy. Some students stared. Others whispered. A few even smirked, as though my pain was something to gossip about during break time. It hurt, but I held my head high. Madam Grace had told me, "You are not what happened to you, Ada. You are what you become after it." Those words were my shield. I repeated them silently as I walked to my seat. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into my studies. Books became my friends, my safe place. Every time I opened one, it felt like I was pushing the darkness further away. I wanted to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I could rise again, but it wasn't just about me anymore. One afternoon, a shy JSS2 girl named Neka approached me behind the school library. She kept glancing around nervously before whispering, "Hey Ada, my uncle has been touching me." Her voice cracked on the last word. I froze, my heart twisting painfully. I saw myself in her trembling hands, her tear-filled eyes. I took her to Madam Grace. This time, I wasn't the one being saved, I was part of the saving. And when Neka's case reached the right people, she was removed from that house before things could get worse. That night, lying in my bed at Madam Grace's home, I realized something. My story, as painful as it was, could be a weapon. Not a blade to hurt myself with, but a light to guide others out of the dark. Months passed, the whispers in school faded. Some of the same people who had once doubted me began to greet me with respect. Even Auntie Ifioma came to see me one afternoon. She stood at the door for a long time before saying softly, "I am sorry, Ada. I should have listened." I didn't know if I could forgive her completely, but I nodded. Because I was ready to leave bitterness behind, when the WAEC results came out, my name was near the top of the list. Madam Grace cried that day, hugging me so tightly I thought my ribs would break. I was going to university, something I had once thought impossible. The day I left for campus, the compound children followed me to the bus stop, waving and shouting my name. The harmattan breeze blew against my face, but inside, I felt warm. As the bus pulled away, I thought of the girl who had once tried to run away in the dark. Trapped in a house that wouldn't let her go. She was gone. In her place was someone new, stronger, wiser, unafraid. I smiled, not because my life was perfect, but because I had taken it back, and that was the happiest ending I could ever give myself. The end. Moral lesson: silence protects the abuser, not the victim. No matter how dark the pain or how alone you feel, there is always someone who will listen, find them, speak up, and fight for your truth. Your past does not define you, your strength to rise again does. Thank you, my beautiful family, for watching, liking, and sharing my stories. Your love and support keep me going every single day. Stay with me, more powerful and touching stories are coming, and I promise to keep you hooked from the first word to the last. Don't stop watching. We are just getting started. Once more, thank you all.